with because there's a ton of players that, I mean, it's kind of like last week, but even more so this week. There's a lot of guys that we have you've seen over the last 12 weeks on the PGA Tour in this field. So it's not like it's one of those random events.
Yeah. It's not like a Sunshine Tour event or something where there's like
Yeah.
two good players and I don't know anyone else. So yeah, it's a good event to get going. The pricing's super soft too, so I'd be interested to see the ownership percentages on some of these guys because it'll let you know who's like going to be popular and if people are just going to gravitate towards like players they just know or right away and stuff too. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
And then fantasy draft.
Yeah, they finally got golf out. That was interesting. I don't know what's taking these companies so long to get on the golf bandwagon, but.
And Bobby will be joining us from the office, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can wait for him, or. Oh, okay, here we go. He's already in the chat.
Yeah.
Fantasy draft historic points. Oh, yeah, that's cool.
Well,
I haven't looked at their scoring system yet. Actually, I should take a look.
I haven't actually looked at it yet either. Yeah, but I'm sure whatever it is, we'll.
Yeah.
It's just like, I mean, it was a lot of unexpected. I wish I would have known before, yesterday afternoon that they were going to be doing this with the European Tour because, we haven't. Yeah.
I work for the DK Playbook, and they didn't even tell me until it came out. So.
It's like, we have a good amount of data that we've been tracking and just kind of like taken from the site and compiling, but we haven't actually done anything with it because we haven't needed to. So I kind of just rushed out whatever we could this week. But we'll look to put some good stuff out. It's just
yeah, I think it caught everyone all by surprise. So all right.
Bobby, are you on the chat, or are you just going to be doing typing? By chat, I mean live. I mean, I should actually.
Okay, I guess we're live now. They just haven't posted the.
There we go. All right.
All right. I guess we'll wait for Bobby. If he pops in, he pops in. No worries.
Yeah, I mean, we got a couple guys in there. We'll just listen, Bobby. I'm talking to him on the phone and stuff, so either he's going to come in or not. But he's on the chat, so.
Okay.
I mean, we'll jump right in. I mean, we got a couple guys on here already. They can pop in some questions, but who do you like off the bat?
Yeah, it's one of those weeks where it's not really a strong field. So, I mean, there's always a temptation to just say that one of the top players is going to blow people out of the water. But I really feel like it's a week where you can ignore a lot of the top players here. I mean, I don't know what people's feelings are about Jordan Spieth. I mean, I've been kind of going back and forth on him the last couple days, but I really don't think he's like a must-play or anything here. I mean, the course sets up better for him this week. But what he did off the tee last week and where he struggled in pretty much every facet of his game, I mean, I just don't know. I just don't feel like I need to pay up for him this week.
Yeah, 12-8. I mean, he pops up in all the spots that you want him to data-wise, but it's just one of those. Does he really pass the eye test right now? And I'm not sure that he does. I mean, there's a couple people, in the higher price range, in the double digits, to 10 to 11, 1 or 2. I mean, I'm still not off of Matt Kuchar. I mean,
yeah.
I think he's one of those guys where he's in the zone right now. He's top 5 in his last 3 events. He's got another strong track record here, and obviously you guys that we're course history people. I know you are to an extent, but I mean, I feel like this goes under one of the course history courses, if that makes sense. I mean, there are courses where we throw course history out. Like I feel like in Louisiana, you don't have to look at course history. There are events where there isn't as much correlation, but it seems like there's consistent players at this particular course. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think that's like the perfect way to put it. 'Cause that's pretty much the way I look at course history too. It's a week by week thing. This is a course, though, where you see experienced players win, too. A lot of the guys are over 30. They played the course before they win. You don't see a lot of, like, debutantes winning. So it's definitely a week where I look at course history and I weight it probably more than normal, for sure. So, and I agree with you on Kuchar. I mean, I think the one reason why I don't mind fading Kuchar is because he's going to be popular in tournaments.
Yeah.
But for cash games, if you can build around him, I mean, yeah, that's the guy I would pick from that range, for sure. Because, I mean, going down – Zach Johnson's got the great course history, but I mean the recent form. You know, I mean, you need more than like a 30th place from Zach Johnson to pay off. So, you know, I'm not going to use him for cash games. I don't care about the course history. Like I said, 30th place isn't going to pay off. Charlie Hoffman's interesting. He has been playing well. I always view Hoffman more as a GPP pick, especially when he's priced that big, though. So, and then going down, you know, Patrick Reed, the same kind of thing. I mean, I could see him getting it going this week, and I'm debating using Patrick Reed in my big lineups right now, but that's for GPPs. For cash games, I wouldn't touch him. So of the top guys, yeah, Kuchar's the one for me for if you're doing like double ups. That's the only guy I'd touch there, I think.
Yeah, I mean Reed. I haven't done our our in-depth kind of look that we normally do.
Yeah.
And Bobby's stuck at work, but he's he's the one that kind of finalizes our round by round numbers, so we can look at that a little more in depth. But he's definitely a guy I would agree. I believe he's a better putter on Bentgrass as well. So he's coming back into that. Definitely a guy that I think is interesting in tournaments. A guy that I'm kind of keen in on, just like the 30,000-foot view right now, is Chris Kirk. I mean, at 9,200, he's kind of just below that range of the higher price guys and just above the middle price guys. Obviously, phenomenal course history. He's been trending in the right direction the last few events. All in all, I think he's a guy that I'm going to have probably a good exposure to in cash.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I could definitely see Kirk winning again this week. Like you said, he's trending in the right direction. So. Yeah, he makes sense for cash games, I think. I think him and Reed. If Patrick Reed gets the putter going this week, I could see him doing what Kirk did last year, is just basically putt the lights out and just beat everyone that way, sort of. Because tee to green, Kirk didn't even play that well last year, but he just sunk all his putts in the last round, and so two kind of similar players. When they get it going, and they can close too. So, but Kirk makes a lot of sense. What are your thoughts on Chappell this week? Because I can't not look at him and think like huge trap.
Yeah, I have concerns. I think he's going to be like this week's, Piercy. I can see. I mean, the numbers make sense, but I feel like I've seen a lot of people talking about him, and Bobby. I think Bobby does a better job than I do at kind of reading the industry. I mean, he reads a lot more of the articles and watches a lot more of the podcasts and videos. So he could probably give a little better sense. But, and I'll put it in the chat because obviously he can't hear us. But I think that's my concern there. I think he is going to be fairly high owned, but I don't know that he should. I don't think the price is right, but the numbers are pointing in a good direction. Yeah,
it's statistically and obviously recent form. You have to like Kevin Chappell, but I just look at him and the players below him and stuff like that, and I see Louis Oosthuizen and I see Kevin Na, and like I get it. Chappell's second at the Players, and he's trending towards a win and all this stuff, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen this week. And he's overpriced. I mean, he really is compared to the field now. So for me, I mean, you have a top 20 player in the world that's $100 less than him. Right below him, you have Kevin Na, who's got phenomenal course history this week. I think he's going to be under-owned tue, so I'm looking to have like heavy Na exposure.
I'm glad you brought him up because that was the next person I was going to go to. When we were done with that, because I think I think people are kind of off him because he seemed a little cool, but he's slowly been heating up. So I could see this being a good spot to get jump on him. I mean, based on his average DraftKings points over his past few events, the price is high, but it just feels like one of the situations where you're getting him on the upswing of where he should be, and with obviously a really strong course history.
Yeah, exactly. I agree completely. Like he's kind of had a weird season because he's had some really good results and then he's tailed off and his numbers are down in a few areas, but I feel like it's just a matter of him just getting a little bit sharper. So yeah, like I hope his ownership does stay down a bit. I think it will. Like you have Danny Lee at 8,800 who will be popular, and like Furyk and Haas down there who are cheaper. And like I agree completely. He's probably a little bit too heavily priced, but like for GPPs, I love that. So I'll have a lot of Kevin Na exposure this week. He led this tournament for 54 holes last year too, so that doesn't hurt for motivation purposes either.
Yeah, and it's one of those weird things. On our guide we have our points gained rank and our value rank, and the value rank is doesn't go into the model, but it's just something that we look at each week that kind of says how many times has a player exceeded the points for their price. So like to cash in a GPP, to have your team finish top 10 in a GPP, right, to win a GPP. And generally the P gap and the value rank, they correlate very strongly. What I think is interesting here is Kevin Na for us, he's ranked, where is he? He's ranked 15th in the value rank, but he's 99th in P gap. So basically what it says is that he hasn't been scoring great relative to his price, but he's been scoring well enough to get the job done. So I think it's interesting. We don't see that often on our side, so when we do, we definitely note it.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
And then a guy asking about Leishman. I mean, Leishman, he keeps killing me. I keep wanting to give Leishman a bone. I think we all do, but he's kind of been fading us. I mean, really strong course history though. So maybe it's a spot you can find it, but I'm probably gonna hold back a little bit on the Leishman relative to the last few weeks.
I think I'd probably wait one more week to get on Leishman. Hopefully see some form from him because he wasn't very good at the Players. Like I know he rallied and made the cut, but strokes gained tee to green, he was bad. He was kind of bad again last week. I want to see it from him now before I get back on him. I think if he has a solid week here, using him at the Memorial will make a lot of sense because he's got some good course history there. So I'll stay off him for one more week. He could pop up though, but he's talented enough, obviously. But for Leishman, for myself, I want to see it one more week. And I mean, I know he's got good total driving stats and stuff like that, but this really isn't maybe the greatest setup for him. I mean, it's pretty tight fairways and stuff like that. So I'm not really on him this week.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would say is, what is he? He's 5 of 5 cuts here.
Yeah, the course history's there.
He's never finished inside the top 20. So,
right, that's the other thing. Yeah.
He can play here, but it's not like it's one of his favorite spots.
Yeah, exactly. And he can play anywhere. It's one of those things. He just hasn't popped up, which is the opposite of next week he's popped up at the Memorial a couple times. So I think that's more of his style. But
what are they asking in the chat there? You got Ryan Palmer, who obviously along with Piercy burned everyone last week. I don't know if he's a member. I wasn't aware of that, but I'm guessing maybe that's
he is. He is a member here. Yeah. So, I think this is his home course or something. So.
I mean, last week's his first missed cut in 7 events. He's 6 of 8 here, so he's pretty decent in terms of making the cut. But the average DraftKings points is 66.3 here. Given 2 missed cuts, that's pretty high. So he's definitely played pretty well. Or what is it? No, it's Kevin. Not Kevin. Isn't it? Ryan Palmer right below. Yeah, I mean, he missed the cut here last year, but the last 3 years before, they've got a 5th, 14th, 5th, 31st cut on the number. 30. He's definitely contended here. Is what's interesting, most interesting about him. Even though he has missed 2 cuts here, he's contended here. I think it's another thing to kind of consider.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think Ryan Palmer is good value this week. I'll be shocked if he doesn't bounce back with a decent week here. I mean, this is his home course. He's played here a ton, so he burned everyone at this event last year too for daily fantasy because he was kind of like the chalk pick, kind of like he was last week. But I'd be shocked if he doesn't bounce back. His putter's been really giving him issues this year, which is kind of where the lack of like top 10s and stuff come in. But at 8,100, I don't mind the price. So I think in this range, I think Danny Lee's going to be really popular this week. What are your thoughts on Jimmy Walker? Like, are you on him now after that 63 from last week? Or
Listen, we were on Walker last week as like kind of a solid play GPP
yeah,
wise. The ownership was there. We weren't going to say, we were saying not cash, but we had some GPP ownership, and he was around like 9 to 11%, depending on the event. Yeah, I don't have a problem with him here either. I mean, at that price point, if you look at those people around that, like you said, Danny Lee. I think Jason Duffner is probably going to see a little more ownership.
yeah,
I don't mind him. I mean, he's never missed a cut here. I mean, he always plays well in Texas for the most part. He's made he's 4 or 6 cuts, so it's kind of recently. But he's a guy. Let me look at the R data. Listen, he's a guy that can win. And people forget that. Every time you want to get down on someone, like when people were so down on Hoffman, there was no reason. Like, it's not like this guy is a guy that's gotten close and doesn't get the job done on Sundays. I mean, he's won 3 times, 4 times in the last 18 months. Obviously, he hasn't been as hot, but his strokes gained tee to green are still top 3rd in the field. His birdie or better percentage is better than the rest of the field. His proximity's been good. He hasn't been putting as well. That's the only thing. I mean, but what I would say is, when it comes to putting on bent grass and Poana, he's done a bit better there. I mean, if you remember, most of the time this guy's getting the job done out west, and that's on a lot of like bent grass and Poana greens. And now that you're back here, I mean, that's how you can't shoot the only person I've ever seen shoot a 63 with ball striking is Duffner at the PGA Championship. I mean, you have to putt to shoot that kind of number, and that tells me, he found a little bit in the putter. But again, last week was the first week in, I think, 5 events that we got back to bent, and now we're on it again. I think it could be a good spot for him.
Yeah, no, that makes tons of sense. And if he gets the putter going again, for sure, he'll start to contend. Kind of a weird season for him. I guess it's just because we're so used to seeing him win like once or twice. But you're right. It's people get kind of down on these guys too quickly. I mean, geez, he's got to have some momentum coming into this week now too, for sure. So.
What about a guy that we have a high in the model again and came through for us last week? Bryce Mulder, 7,100. Still, I mean, I think he's probably going to be a little higher than he was last week, but I mean, he's ranked 1st in the points gained against Price. I mean, he's averaging 19.31 points more than the average person at that 7,100. The price is just so low for this guy.
Yeah, it's funny because I was looking at someone else in this range who I thought was priced really low, and then I got to Bryce Mulder, and I'm like, oh man, he's way too underpriced. Like, his putter's been really good lately, so it's which is some people might say it's concerning, but at the same time,
it is. That's how Bobby and I look at it. I mean, obviously, if a guy's MO over his career is that he can only putt, but if it's a guy that just seems to be hotter than average, you want to get off that train before he cools off, but
That's true. That's true. And I mean, I guess the one thing I'd say about Mulder is, his short game and stuff should fit here. So, I still think he's incredible value at this week. I was kind of shocked when I actually saw him down there. So, and I think I trust him. Like, I trust him more probably for a cash game, just because, like the tee to green, he's been okay. So I mean, if the putter's going to stay hot, at least he can save his round with the putter, right? Whereas another guy I don't mind in this range is Ches Reavie, who it's like you said. I mean, Ches is an ultimate ball striker, but he's got to sink some putts at some point. So he did last week, but and if he can do it again this week, I mean, I think he'll contend. So I really like him for this course. I mean, he's got a 5th here from a few years back. That's the guy I'll be targeting, I think, for GPPs this week in this range.
Yeah, he's a guy that he pops up. He's 14th in the field in key stats. So like you're saying, it looks like it's going to be a fit here. He's a guy that is on the way back up. I mean, he had a rough stretch. It's disappointing because the guy had a rough stretch just when everyone was starting to say, okay, he's locked in.
Yeah.
And now it looks like he found a little bit last week, so hopefully he's back in a good spot. So I definitely like going with that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's nice because everyone's going to be off him now. At the same time, you see that Ches Reavie isn't that great a putter, and like when his putter goes off, he can really go off too if his ball striking's a bit off. So that's the type of player he's always been. He's either been red hot or he's been like missing cuts left and right. So
Yeah, and this week, is somewhat similar to last week in that, generally strokes gained tee to green and then strokes gained putting are the 1 and 2 key stats, and then it's obviously how much we weigh it. But
right.
This week when we ran the regression, it was similar to last week in that it actually ended up third. I mean, it matters, but it's not it hasn't been a determining factor nearly as much as the ball striking. But
interesting, yeah. So what was the other? What was like the second or first stat?
Well, it's always the 3 stats that will pretty much always be in our 6 are tee to green, putting, and birdie or better.
Okay.
Which makes sense,
Absolutely.
In the model that we're kind of working on right now that we're going to, unveil somewhat soon, it's going to be separate. Like we're always going to have those 3 as part of it, and then we're going to have a separate like raw key stats. But the way the model's set up now, we have to have it that way. So it's it's generally strokes gained tee to green anywhere from like 25 to 35%, and then it's usually strokes gained putting like 20 to 25, and then birdie or better like 15 to 25. This week we have birdie or better at 20%, and it's all based on the regressions and the correlation to what DraftKings points have shown the last 10 years of that course. So.
Yeah. Okay. No, it makes complete sense. That's cool to hear. Who else are you looking at in the 7K range? Is there anyone in the high 7s that pops off to you? I've looked at this range and I see guys I might think about if I'm making a lot of lineups, but there's no one I want to go heavy on. Is there anyone that popped up to you guys like DeChambeau or Kaufman or someone like that?
There's a guy that just strictly in terms of the model popped up that he's at 7,000, so not high 7s, but
that's okay.
He was a guy who rode a ton in the fall, and then he kind of cooled off. But it's the first time he's back in what we call our second class, and that's Daniel Summerhays.
Yeah.
He's starting to trend in the right direction. The course history is kind of average for the field. He's only he's 3 of 5 here, which is not terrible. He's got course experience, which I think, like you said, someone with some experience. But he's 5 of 6 cuts recently. The event by event for him. If you look at it, I mean, he's got 23rd at the Players, 14th at Wells Fargo, 13th at Valero, 51st at Heritage. And that was after he took a 3-week break from his missed cut at the Arnold Palmer, and then he's played pretty well the last month and a half. He's a guy at 7,000. I think is pretty interesting.
Yeah, this whole range is like I keep going back and forth on guys because I don't mind Jakobsen. It seems like all these guys have really good putters, and if one of them gets it going on tee to green this week, they're probably going to end up in like the top 10. Like Mulder, Summerhays. You could even probably throw McGirt in there. And all these guys they've all been putting really well recently, and Summerhays is definitely trending in the right direction. He played really well at the Players, so this is a course that should fit him. He just hasn't really his game off the tee can sometimes let him down. I think that's why he sometimes struggles with these tighter courses. But yeah, he's definitely a guy I had on my list for this range because, like I said, there's 3 or 4 guys here. I'm sort of leaning towards Jakobsen just for the experience factor, but and he's got like a 5th place here at some point. But Summerhays is very similar type of player. So
yeah, I mean you take Summerhays and you take Mulder, and now you got a lot of room left with two guys at the bottom that you can probably feel pretty confident. I mean, obviously we've seen since PGA DFS has started that it's rare that you can feel confident in everyone, but that's as confident as you're going to feel at someone at 7,000, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and it's one of those weeks where, I mean, this is the type of course where you want guys like that who have a bit of an all-around game. They're not just bombers off the tee. So I would feel pretty confident going with like 2 or 3 of these guys even from the 7K range. So I think that's probably a decent GPP strategy this week. I know people have been going like really low and having success in GPPs, but I feel like with the way the pricing came up a bit this week, I like guys like Jakobsen and Mulder and McGirt and stacking those guys instead. So I think that makes a lot of sense here.
Do you think this is a solid opportunity to jump on Oosthuizen after a missed cut, or are you concerned with how he played?
No, I'm not concerned at all. I think this is a really good spot for him, to be honest. He was second at tee to green at Players. He just had a bad first round. He played really well in the second round. Even got his putter going a bit. Like,
and he missed it on the number, right? After having that first round.
I think he missed it by one or two. And I mean, look, he's like I'm kind of was thinking about the course and stuff, but he top 10 at Valspar, he top 10 at RBC last year. Like, I don't know. I think it's more than a good enough chance he could easily top 10 here. Like I said, I'm playing him over Chappell this week. I mean, to me it's a no-brainer. I mean, Chappell's going to be 25-30% at GPPs. Oosthuizen's going to be like 5%.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby and I can jump over that theory. Like, that's just not even. It's a joke. I mean, the same price for a guy that. I mean, come on.
And
he's 14th in the world. He's 14th in the world.
Yeah, exactly. He's 14th in the world. He's in this tournament because he wants to play. He wants to win. He's getting tuned up for the U.S. Open. The guy's never won in the U.S. I mean, you can't tell me he's not motivated to get a victory under his belt here too at some point. So I think this is a pretty sneaky week for him to kind of take advantage of a weak field. So don't be shocked if he shows up. Again, like I hate to say it, but it's really all about his putter. If he starts sinking putts, he's going to run away with this thing. Kind of like Brandon Grace did at the RBC. He got his putter going in the final round. It was lights out. So, but I love him for GPPs this week for sure.
I'm kind of just looking at some lineup creation, which I haven't thought about at all. I've just swamped putting together some of the content, but just with 4 players right now, I haven't looked, but I can't imagine if you went Walker, Oosthuizen, Summerhays, and Mulder. You're going to have a lot of money left for those last 2 guys. I don't know what the amount is, but I feel great about that kind of core. Let me see exactly how much that is, but it's like...
Here, I'll add it up. Yeah. You would have 8,900 average for your last 2 golf.
So, I mean, if you want to take one of those studs, if you want to keep it even, I mean, that's...
Yeah, you could round it out with non-Haas. I mean,
like you're talking about some proven players, guys that can win. I mean, even if you wanted to buy up, if you wanted to buy up to Reed, in that situation, I think this is rounding out to be a pretty solid, GPP style lineup. You do that, and you got what does that leave you? 7,900. Trying to think. I mean, it puts you in the. If you want to be exactly 50,000, you can go with like a Kazire type guy, no course history, so you kind of he's in there. But if you wanted to fit Leishman back in, he fits in there. Definitely some interesting lineups to be made with some high quality players.
Yeah, exactly, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know what this whole interested in winning thing. I mean, in theory, is he interested in playing well? Because I don't need him to win. I just need him to play well. You always want to get that winner, especially if you're playing GPPs. But if you're doing as much, cash exposure as say, Bobby and I have been doing the last few weeks, like, give me all my guys just making the cut and finishing top 25. Like, if you're trying to win $1 million, like you got to pick the winner. So maybe you want to steer away, but. Listen, he's a class player in an average field that people are going to be off because he missed the cut last week. So if he finishes 5th and he's not pressing down the stretch because he's not trying to win, if that's really a theory, whatever, I'll take his 5th place. Like, it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, no, I think this is a great bounce back spot for him. I'm just excited because I know he's going to be low owned. So if this is actually the week he ends up taking it down, then it'll be good. But no, you're right. I mean, for cash game purposes, he's undervalued too. So, I mean, if you want to target him in that respect, I mean, like you said, he's the 14th player in the world. He's not going to miss like a bunch of cuts in a row. He just doesn't do that. He's been in good form this year too. It's just, he missed the cut last week. It happens.
One bad round, and he almost made it. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like he was. I mean, he was firing. He was trying to make it too. I mean, he eagled like the last par 5, so he was trying to get there, but.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it burned Bobby. I think that was probably his highest owned player last week. But like,
it burned me too. So
yeah,
that makes Bobby feel better.
That's right. It's when he told me that, I remembered that's what you said, because you and I were kind of talking between Schwartzel and Oost, and I like both of them, but I played Schwartzel instead, so I got the better end of that draw. But yeah, I mean, the ownership was solid on both of them. I mean, and then again, it kind of goes back to that comment. Like, why does a guy that doesn't care about winning? Why would he try and he tried to post around. He tried to take it.
Exactly.
So
I mean, and these guys, I mean, the U.S. Open's coming up. Like, they got to get some confidence, right? I mean, if they go into the Oakmont with like 4 straight missed cuts or something, it's not a good thing. So, but yeah, no, he's just a class player who's like he's under Kevin Chappell, he's under Zach Johnson. I mean, well, Zach Johnson's a class player too, but he's a little underpriced this week. So.
Who else?
What about John Senden? I mean, John Senden and Boo Weekly are two guys. They're very similar players because they're both awful putters, but they both just hit the ball so well. So
Senden is a guy that I personally have always liked. He's if I created a list of if you give me 100 PGA Tour players, I could easily say guys I kind of have a bias towards and guys I don't. He's one of them that I do. So I'll put that out there before I go into it. But yeah, I mean he's ranking fairly high in the model. I mean for us we got him ranked 31st in the field overall. I mean he's 5 of 8 cuts. 5 of 8 at both the course and recent. I mean the price based on what we see is about right for him. I don't think you're getting a steal at 7,400, but yeah, I mean he's a ball striker. Nothing looks poor. I mean his form is good. His key stats are good. His course history is good enough. It's not like anything is glaringly bad for that guy. So I can definitely get behind Senden.
Yeah, no, I think he's got a 5th and an 8th here. So I mean, he doesn't just make the cut. He's contended. And this is the type of course I'd expect John Senden to contend on. I mean, he won at the Valspar, which to me is like one of the most similar courses on tour this week. So yeah, I mean he's been okay. Like he's been popping up with some top 20s. I used him last week a little bit. Didn't have the greatest final round, but he wasn't horrible either. So,
what's his name took care of you last week? Did you play Garrigus?
Yeah, I played Garrigus. I bet him top 20. No, he was. I know he was.
You were all over him.
He was my only good call of the week. I just it's just too bad Oosthuizen didn't come through because with Garrigus, I mean, God, I would have taken down everything. If I had switched from Oosthuizen to Koepka, because I did have a bit of Sergio too, but I just didn't get any of those big lineups through. But no, Garrigus was huge. I'm kind of disappointed he's not playing this week, to be honest. But we would have been higher on. But yeah, I'm with you on Senden, and I think Weekly is trending too. I mean, a 62 and a 65 last week. Someone asked about if he's a good fit. I mean, this is like Boo Weekly's favorite course, basically, or this and Hilton Head, basically. So I like both those guys at that price range.
Yeah. Where does Weekly always kill it? I know he likes Hilton Head, but
there's some other course that he always plays really well at, isn't it?
I'm always on the road that weekend because I'm always listening to it on the car, so I'm trying to figure out what it is. He's won that location twice.
Yeah.
I can't remember it off the top of my head, so.
I can't remember it either. You keep talking. I'll
look that up. Yeah. I mean, at that course, it's like the greens are tiny, so you just
it's very similar to this week. I'll figure it out.
Yeah, Bob, I don't know if it's the RBC Heritage. He plays well there, but for some reason, I don't think it's the course that I'm thinking about. Bob, I think Bobby's actually able to listen to us. Yeah, he can listen to us now. He just can't talk.
Oh, that's good.
Maybe it is Heritage.
He's definitely won the Heritage. I think maybe he has won the Heritage twice.
I see him in that tartan jacket, so maybe it is.
Yeah, it must be.
But when I think of 18, it's not that course. When I know I've seen him coming up, so.
There might be another event he's won a couple times too. I don't know. Anyways, we'll just say it's Heritage. Yeah, it must be. I can't find any other wins for him, so all right. It's Heritage. It's Hilton Head. All right, so let's see. So we talked about the guys at 7K. Who's popping off to you? I know some guys already mentioned Scott Piercy for a nice bounce back, perhaps. I can kind of get behind that. I know Piercy won last year at a course that I believe had sort of smaller greens and tighter fairways. He doesn't have the greatest course history here, but not the type of guy this year to miss a lot of cuts. So he'll be on their own. I mean,
it was the Heritage. It was the Verizon Heritage. You went back to back, 2007, 2008.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, listen, at 6,800, the numbers haven't, outside of last week's missed cut. If you take that in a bubble, like the numbers still look good from a slightly larger view on Piercy. So at 6,800, I think you can round out some lineups and probably not get crushed by the ownership as much as last week.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's kind of the way I'm thinking too. So, pretty quality player. Like just value wise, you're getting again like a really top player for way less, less than 7K. So, I like that about him. I know we already kind of mentioned Sean O'Hare in the chat, but led the field in strokes gained tee to green last week. I'm gonna have a ton of him. I think he's been trending for a while. He just now he can't get his putter going. So if that gets going this week, I mean, he drove it phenomenally last week. So if that carries over, he'll be in good shape this week. Doesn't have like the greatest course history, but he does have a couple like decent finishes. So
how about another guy? I'm just kind of checking some boxes right now that I think might be underowned. How about Cameron Tringali? He's quietly 6 or 7 cuts recently. He's made 4 or 5 cuts here. Nothing crazy in terms of high finishes, but he's trending in the right direction. I mean, he finished 27th at Arnold Palmer, 57th at Shell Houston, 60th at Valero. So obviously not but he's gone 60th. Then at Zurich he was 48th, 41st at Wells Fargo, and then he finished 16th at the Players. He's definitely strung together a solid like 2 months or so quietly.
Yeah. He does make a lot of cuts. I don't love him for this course. Like I know we talked about those other guys at 7K. I just like them a little bit better. I don't know. He tends to be a little wild off the tee sometimes, but
yeah, I mean the guy, he's kind of like who did we mention earlier? Leishman, where he's making cuts here. He's only missed a cut once, but the times he has made it, it's 43rd, 63rd, 54th, 65th. But it's kind of more of a thing where like you feel safe about him making the cut because he's made the cut here and he's kind of converging. I'm not saying complete endorsement, but just I'm just kind of like browsing through the numbers to see who's popping up randomly that I don't know.
I think it's good to note just that he's playing better because like he really wasn't playing that well at the start of the year. So he's a guy who, if he doesn't pop up this week, he might be popping up soon because he played well for a stretch there at the Players too, I think. Yeah, at the Players. Yeah, he's T16. So that's right. And a guy who's, again, like his putter can get really hot. So I could see it, going well again. Again, the course history works against him a bit, but definitely someone to take note of in that range. That whole range is just really strong, I think, this week. But Steve Marino at 6,900. He's got a decent course history here. Robert Streb's a really quality player, but again, I don't know what you're going to get from him. His putter's been awful this year too. So
I mean, Marino. Listen, when I make a call like last week when I kind of did with Marino, I did that on Wednesday in our Periscope. When you hit on a guy like that, I don't double down. Listen, he's not. You probably can, but I just feel like if anything, there's going to be slightly more exposure to him, and unless the numbers really line up as well as I felt they did last week.
Yeah. No, I remember you mentioning him last week actually.
Yeah, he was just because the recent form was not good for him at all, but it was just like the points, the DraftKings points.
Yeah.
At that course for him, career was just like astounding. I mean, the only other people that were better were like Dustin Johnson, Jordan Spieth, Matt Kuchar. Like it was like big names. Then all of a sudden, boom, Marino. I was like, all right, for 5,900 or 5,800, whatever it was last week, like I gotta have it. But yeah, I don't roll the dice.
No, that's probably what I'd be saying about Robert Garrigus if he was in the field this week too.
Yeah.
But it makes. I mean, he's more expensive too, right? So it kind of makes a lot of sense. He does have some good finishes here, but again, the price kind of takes him out of that super value range. So let's see. I don't mind Lucas Glover. The setup, just the ball striking and like the par 4 scoring and the greens and regulation. I think it makes him a pretty safe play here. I know people probably said that last week, but I wasn't really on Glover last week because of the price. Now he's come down a bit. He's going to be a little underowned. I don't hate him as much. I think there's stronger plays in this range, but again, I mean, like the ball striking is just so ridiculous. So people mentioned Grillo too.
Yeah, Grillo. I can get behind Grillo as a little bit of a flyer. I mean, he's an accurate striker of the ball. So
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the only negative against Grillo this week is really it's the first time seeing the course. So
yeah, no, exactly.
and it's more of a course where experience does like factor in. So keep that in mind. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, you're getting like a pretty good bargain. I mean, he's the same price as guys like Tom Hoagie this week and stuff like that. And so, I mean, you're getting a pretty good young player for cheap. So I think someone asked us about Tom Hoagie, didn't
Yeah, they asked about Hoagie. I made a couple of comments. I mean, if you look at his recent events, I mean, listen, he made the cut last week. He made the cut at Wells Fargo, finished 41st. Had a really bad showing at Zurich, but that was, interesting because it was right off of a ninth place finish at Valero. So I mean, he's got a little bit of interest there, but at 6,700, if you showed me Tom Hoagie at 5,700, I'd say okay, I'd be interested. But at 6,700, I'm not, I'm not excited enough. I mean, he looks like he could make a cut and contend a little bit, but I'm just not excited about the price. Vegas is a guy at that price I'm excited about.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's just too many other quality players in Hoagie's price range for me to jump on him this week.
Let's look at the weather. I know they were asking if that's a concern. I mean, if anything, it looks like maybe the Thursday morning crowd gets it's showing cloudy in the morning, then windy with periods of thunderstorms later in the day, and then it's going to maybe storm into the night and Friday.
When I looked at it, it looks like they should get Thursday in. Like the afternoon crowd might get a little worse. It's Friday that's going to be sketchy. So it's like if they're going to get it in or not because it might storm all day. So I think like the Thursday morning guys could get in like some pretty decent weather. And then, the afternoon guys might lose out, but it's tough to say. It's always tough to say with weather.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of had a little bit of effect the last, month or so in events. So I think people are keying on a little more, but it's really tough to pin it down. It just right now, I guess what I would say in terms of weather is it looks like maybe Thursday early has a little bit of an advantage, but who knows how it's going to shake out depending on how they actually, finish the rounds.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I mean, this event always gets hurt by rain, unfortunately. It's those Texas storms. So, let's see. So you guys like Vegas. I think that makes sense. He's made so many cuts this year. Unreal.
Yeah, let's hope.
Tee to green, he's been really good.
Yeah, I mean, again, he hasn't, Valero was the only real bad round in the last 3 months. I mean, hasn't outside of Valero, his worst finish is 57th at the Players. So you put Vegas in a field like that, like I'd expect it. But at Zurich he finished 5th. He finished 19th at Shell. He's definitely a guy at 6,600. That's a guy that I'm a little more interested in than like I said, Hoagie. So he's a guy who Vegas. He's the cheapest guy for us. That ranks high. I mean, he's I guess Grillo and Vegas we have both fairly high for guys that are sub 7,000.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, Grillo's definitely got some of the best upside in that range for me too. So I like David Hearn at 6,400 too. Like good course history. He's starting to pop with some consistent top 25 finishes. So like at 6,400, I see that as good value. And I mean, he, again, an accuracy-driven player. He's super accurate with his approaches and stuff. It's going to help him this week. So I think at 6,400, once I go under 65, he's one of my favorite plays. I'd probably even consider him for cash games. He's just usually consistent when he gets in this kind of form.
Just answering some questions on there.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, some putting questions. So it's bent grass. It is bent grass greens this week, isn't it? So.
Yep.
Just going down to like under 6,400. There's not a whole ton of players I love this week. Ben Crane is kind of interesting as an experienced player, possibly as like a cut maker guy. He kind of blew up in the last 2 rounds after he was leading halfway last week. Brian Stewart's another guy who should fit this course well. I don't hate that play, like maybe more for tournaments, obviously, but.
How about Poulter?
Yeah, Poulter's definitely. I could see Poulter showing up this week. He played well here last year for sure.
Yeah, he's got a really strong course history. I mean, it looks like his only bad year was 2010. He finished 76th. So was that a missed cut or was it just made the cut on the number? Maybe a Monday. I mean, made cut did not finish. Let me see. We have him as he made that cut. He just happened to finish like last.
Yeah.
But he's got a 5th, he's got an 8th, and a 15th outside of that. I mean, those were a couple of years back, 2008, 2009, 2010. He hasn't played here until last year where he came in 5th. Obviously played. Hold on, let's just double check that.
Be right back. Just give me 1 sec, Bobby.
Yeah, take your time. Oh, where did Poulter go? He just ran on me. There he is. Yeah, Poulter. Yeah, I mean, obviously, last week didn't work out, and I like him, but he's made a few cuts before that, so it's kind of tough to tell. I mean, really dark with the course history there.
Realize I just called you Bobby too.
Sorry.
Yeah, someone asked. Someone asked about Franklin. I can't even pronounce his name. Corpening.
Yeah, I don't.
Corpening. Yeah, that's it.
I don't know anything about him. I mean, I don't have any stats on him. Obviously, he hasn't played in the last 12 weeks. He's got.
Yeah, he's a local, so he hasn't played much on the PGA. He's played a few like web.coms and stuff like that. But yeah, he is a local who plays a lot at the Colonial. So he did make the cut here, like I think it was 2014. So, I mean, it's kind of like, last week we were talking about the amateur Zalatoris or whatever his name was. Similar type of player. The only thing I'd say about Corpening is he does have more experience playing pro golf events, so he might be a little better suited. J.J. Henry's another guy who he plays this course a lot. It's like his home course, so he makes a lot of cuts. So
I have Corpening as finishing 14th in 2013 and missing the cut in 2014.
Okay, sorry, it was 2013
Yeah.
he made the cut. That's my bad.
But it's okay. I mean, that's what they put on in the chat too. So
Yeah.
And J.J. Henry was a guy I threw a flyer out on last week, got through the cut, had a strong finish. But yeah, he's played here he's one of only a few people that have played here every year for the last 10 straight years. I mean, he missed last year, but he's made more cuts than he's missed. He's never really contended, but 5,700, it's just one of those price points where you're just trying to push them through the cut.
Yeah, exactly, for sure. And I mean, in a reduced field event too. I mean, like it's going to be easier for a guy like J.J. Henry to make the cut, and with him knowing the course, I think there's a better chance you get a higher finish from this week. So I definitely would lean towards him as a low price punt flyer. I think. Vaughn Taylor's semi-interesting. I know he hasn't done anything since he won, but 5,800, I don't hate him. God, I can't believe Hunter Mahan's 5,900.
Yeah, right? Like what?
Like what happened to this guy? Like seriously. Oh my God. He's shot one round under 70 in like the last. Oh my God, I didn't know he was playing this bad. Holy shit. That's awful. Poor Hunter.
Man. God.
I mean, would you take a shot with Hunter Mahan this week? I mean, he's 5,900 and just hope it's like his bounce back. Did he play the? Oh, he did play the players.
I mean, he's 6 of 8 cuts at the event. He's 4 of 8. He's 4 of 8. In terms of recent form. But I mean, he made the cut at Wells Fargo, made it at the Masters, but uh, other than that,
Yeah,
it hasn't been close. I mean, 110th at the Players, 140th at Zurich, 93rd at Valero. Uh, it's just I can't get excited, but there are many people with pedigree, if you want to call it that, at that price point.
yeah, no, for sure.
Except Angel Cabrera.
Yeah.
But you're getting old.
Getting old. And...
Greg Owen finally.
Yeah, he popped up for you guys a little bit last week, didn't he?
Yeah, but then
Oh yeah, he MDF'd. I forgot. Never mind.
Yeah, I mean, day one he looked like he was going to do something for us, and then he faded. But
I mean, Siwoo Kim is probably the chalk under 6K this week. I mean, 23rd at the Players. He had a good run at the RBC Heritage too. That's probably the chalk play under 5,900. I still don't think he'll be that popular. So I don't know if he popped up in any models for you guys at all. But that's probably like I said, the chalk play.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Ken Duke finished third at the Players. Just saying. And then he follows it up with a 151st at Byron Nelson the next week.
Yeah, that was so predictable.
I was like, of course. Yeah, I mean, Siwoo Kim, if you go back even further, you're right. I mean, he finished 13th at Shell, 14th at RBC, rough patch, maybe burned out a little. That was at the tail end of him playing 11 to 12 weeks, right? Something like that. And then, boom, pops back up with the Players. So it's kind of interesting. I mean, if he's a guy that's going to be ebb and flow, then this might be the right time to jump back in. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, it's. I mean, the course does. He's played okay here before, so it's. I don't know. I'm not going to bother with it or anything like that. I don't think you need to get any Ken Duke exposure. I'm not. I just think you just got to look at the Players as like a crazy week.
No. I was just making that joke. No, he's definitely not a guy we're saying anything about.
Yeah.
Let's see. Who else? I mean, how do you? I'm just looking through the recent form and who's kind of consistently high. I mean, Bryce Mulder's friggin' killing it. He just really is. He hasn't finished outside of the.
His value.
Valspar. I mean, he hasn't finished outside of the top 50 since
Yeah.
Valspar in 2 months. I mean, 27, 47, 46, 6th, 42nd, 8th, 12th, 24th. I mean, this is not a guy that should be priced 7,100. I mean, I don't want to. I hate getting so excited about a guy, and then he burns you. But you got to go with what makes sense.
Yeah, no, I mean it's like I said, when I saw his price this week, I was just like, wow, he is clearly and above the best value. You look at everyone above him, and you could make a case that he should be priced probably at Kevin Kisner's level, I would say, this week. So that's like a whole realm of a whole level of people that he's priced below. So I am with you on Bryce Mulder. I mean, to me, he's clearly the best value. So no doubt about it. Has John Huh played well lately?
Who?
John Huh.
Well, he played.
No, he didn't play well last week. He opened with a 67. I mean,
that was
he
it.
played so well earlier in the year. This is such a good course for John Huh. This is the type of course he wins at. But the recent form sucks. So I'm just thinking for PvP play might be interesting. But I don't know if I can trust him. Fabian Gomez is kind of in the same realm. This is a really good setup for Fabian Gomez.
Castro's a guy in that range, kind of. I think you might have mentioned him earlier, but I forget. He's a guy that we don't mind too much, especially in terms of the model and in terms of his R data is popping pretty strong, just in terms of the key stats. Let me just see. Yeah, I mean, he just needs to putt. I mean, he's one of the only guys in the field that are 5 of 6 in the top, top third of the field. He just needs to make some putts. I mean, he's striking the ball well. He's one of the top. He's actually, in terms of par 4 scoring, he is ranked 14th in the field in par 4 scoring, and his proximity So the hole is not as exciting, but 29th in the field. So I mean, he's a guy that I think fits the course well. What is the course history? Was that the only issue? I forget. No, he's 2 or 3 cuts. I mean, I think the price is that's it. The price is not that exciting, but at 7,600, he's actually been exceeding that in terms of points. I mean, we have him averaging 6.6 points more than someone priced at that point. So it seems like it might be a little high for him, especially when you consider someone like Mulder. But yeah, he's a guy that I think is probably going to be low owned.
Yeah, no, I completely agree on Castro. He's not the value play that Mulder is, but like the form and the fit are there. And like you said, I mean, he's been improving it. He's a really talented golfer too. Like he's a guy who can. I mean, we saw him almost win the Wells Fargo, but he's a guy who legitimately can win on tour. I think. I mean, so it's yeah. I'm not shocked to hear that he's popping up for you guys because this isn't a bad track for him at all for sure. So definitely don't mind Roberto Castro for GPP. Won't be shocked if he has another good week.
Anyone interested in giving Chris Stroud? I mean, does he go for a turkey? What do you think? He's got a withdrawal. He's got a disqualification. What else can you do that's not like a standard outcome?
Yeah, I mean, let's see. I don't know.
I mean, maybe he MDFs this week. Maybe he gets through the cut, you're excited, and then he doesn't finish the Friday. That sounds like something.
He shoots 80. That's probably real good. I don't know what's going on with Chris Stroud, man. He used to be a fairly consistent golfer, but last couple weeks, not so much. So I don't know what he was DQ'd for. Probably something stupid.
Yeah, I didn't see it. Someone asked about it, and then dog just jumped up. No, that's not really it, Bobby, is it? No way. Looks like the Anel Cabrera special. Smoking a cigarette on the back nine. Let's see.
Well, if they DQ guys for smoking, like Spencer Levine and Anel Cabrera would be out of a job, basically.
They do. I mean, listen, it's pretty impressive. They do a really good job of not showing people smoking on TV. I think that's one of their goals. But it was just so funny when with Angel in at Augusta, like, what are you're not going to show the guy? Like,
yeah.
That was one of the more interesting things.
Little Webb Simpson.
Someone asked, made the joke earlier about the, having the baby. So obviously that means he's gonna win this week. But he's more of a guy that I want to see in form. I mean, I kind of feel like I'm not ready to jump on him. Maybe once or twice in the GPP because I think you'll get return on the ownership. But he's still a guy that's pretty low for us. I mean, the course history is he's missed both cuts here. And I mean, the price is okay for a guy with a name, but I'm not too excited. Why? Something specifically you like about him?
No, I don't like him at all.
No.
I don't want any part of Webb Simpson. I don't care if he had a kid or not. The guy can't putt, and he's not even striking it well right now. So no, I don't want any Webb Simpson. I hope people play him because of his price, but I won't be. I was just breaking him up because he is so cheap now. I mean, in a field like this, you'd be used to seeing him around 9K or something.
Yeah, I agree.
He's on the Hunter Mahan path.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see if he gets off it before he hits 5K or whatever. So.
One of the guys mentioned Duffner. I think I mentioned him earlier. I mean, Duffner, I have to be surprised if he's not slightly higher on the last week, maybe in the mid-teens. I like him. He's playing as well in terms of a consistency standpoint as he really has in his career. Skinny Duff is finally getting it done. The price is fair. He's played well here, 5 or 6 cuts. He's made 5 of his last 6 personally. I mean, I liked him last week. He paid off, and I think he's going to be owned. That's my only concern. I think Duffner's going to have a little more ownership than he's had. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with if I'm right and he is 15%, it's not going to hurt you. I mean, he could be a little more. I could see him maybe creeping up to 18 where you feel a little worse, but he's definitely a strong play. This is the kind of course that he's a candidate to compete on. I mean, what's the course history for him? Let's see. It's Duffner. Yeah, I mean, he's got a 40. Yeah, I mean, he hasn't missed a cut since 2011 here. Then he followed up the next year, finished second, 46th, second, 43rd, so he should finish second this year. based on the pattern.
Yeah, no kidding. I definitely like him over Colt Knost this week. I think Knost is going to be way overowned, so he'll
Yeah,
probably.
I mean, come on, Colt Knost, like 8,300. I mean, the guy. Let's not forget Colt Knost. Yeah, he's looking strong. He finished 10th last year. The 4 times Colt Knost has played here before, and he's finished 99th, 101st, 117th, and 122nd.
Yeah.
So, obviously he played well here last year, and he's been playing decent, recently, back-to-back top fives. He's been playing really well, better than recent, but uh, if you played Colt Knost 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, you got the value, but now it's kind of creep up into the, I don't know, range.
Yeah, you're going to need another top 10 from him almost. So I don't know. I mean, I'd feel a little more comfortable with Duffner, I think. I mean, it's tough to say. I mean, I know someone just said he's not the player he was 2 years ago. I don't disagree with that at all. But like at the same time, is he a player who's gonna,
No, he's talking about Spieth.
talking about speed?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's what he's talking about. And he's chatting about Spieth on there. Oh, Nost. All right, Bobby.
okay.
He was talking about Nost. My bad.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a tough call. Like at the same time, you want to get on a player when he's playing well. At the same time, you don't want to overpay for someone. So, I don't know. I guess in GPPs, my feeling is he's an easy fade because he'll be overowned. But I don't know. He consistently makes cuts. So I really don't mind either Duffner or Nost this week. I just think that Duffner is the more proven player. So I feel like Duffner you're getting a discount on. Nost you're paying more for, right? So.
Let's not forget. I mean, Walker's $200 more.
Yeah, exactly. And you can go up. I mean, you can even go up to Haas or Furyk or Danny Lee for not much more. So I don't know. I just don't really go in that. I'm just not going to go in that range because I feel like there's such a big jump in quality of player above them.
Do you think it's time? Do you think it's time to maybe be ahead of the curve on Furyk? I mean, he comes out at Wells Fargo. It's his first event in however long. Doesn't play well. Fine. Then he comes up with a respectable 35 at TPC. Yeah, it's a home game for him, but I mean, listen, 35 it's your second event in like 8 months, 35th. Like he's a world-class player. I mean, he was playing phenomenal last year and the year before. I mean, if he's back to where he should, I mean, could be a time to jump on. I think the ownership's probably still going to be pretty low.
Yeah, I kind of completely agree. I mean, I think this is a Jim Furyk course too, right? So don't be shocked if he shows up and starts contending and he ends up with like a top 50, top 10 this week. Because I mean, people forget. I mean, that's what Jim Furyk does. He top 10s every week, like when he's in form. So yeah, if you want to get ahead of the curve, it might be the cheapest to see him for a while. I mean,
yeah, I mean that's a guy that's 9,800 to 10.5 when he's in form. So
yeah, exactly. So I mean, you could be getting huge value on him for sure. If I'm going to make multiple lineups, I'll definitely find a way to get some exposure because I just think you're getting such a discount, such a consistent player. So
Chris Stroud didn't make he was late for his tee time.
Oh, okay. So what he probably shot like 76 in round one, didn't he?
Yeah, he didn't come out too strong either.
I like that. That's probably what I would have done. So. Any last questions, guys? Or
yeah, I think we covered a good amount. Pretty efficient session here, I think.
Yeah, I think we covered most of the field. I mean, it's a smaller field too, so like if some top players do miss the cut, it's really going to affect things because it's going to make it a little bit like it's a little bit easier to get 6 of 6 through. So if those chalk guys through, it's really going to throw the guys who have 6 of 6 up in place.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just a much smaller field.
Contrarian, yeah. Adam Scott over Kuchar in GPPs. I'm not really on Adam Scott this year. I know he won here once before, but it was kind of on the back of like a miracle, like 61 round, and then he won a playoff.
The only issue with Scott is the putting that he had early in the year has been fading a little bit. But I mean, he still finished what 17th and 12th the last 2 weeks. I mean,
Yeah.
he just the putter is. I mean, listen, the putter has always been what you've always you're concerned with, but he hasn't. It hasn't been as hot relative to how it was earlier in the year.
Yeah, I think the thing with me with Scott is if I'm not going to use Kuchar, I'd probably rather just go down
Oh, that's true.
to the 9K range and use like Na or Kirk or Oosthuizen or something like that. So
You know what? Bobby mentioned a great point. I mean, that ridiculous quad for Adam Scott at the Players. I mean, he's one off the lead if he bogeys. He's in the lead if he pars, I believe, at the end of the day, or not in the lead, but the second place. That's the lead for second place behind Day. He was like 8 under or so, and he made a quad on 18. Adam Scott was playing well though. That's right. I forgot about that.
oh yeah, no, I mean like Tina Green, he's not really he's not been hurting himself. It's just like you said, the putting and some of the ridiculous chipping and stuff like that is back too. I know he sculled it in the water at the Wells Fargo once and made like a double too. So
Yeah.
he's I don't know. Like I said, I mean when he won here, he was on the back of like a hero round. And, I just don't love this course for him. I think again I might consider him more like next week than this week, but. You never know. I mean, the guy's such a good player that he could certainly just pop up and shoot like 63 again.
Yep.
He won't be high owned. I don't think he'll be highly owned.
That's why I think Bobby was saying for GPP.
Yeah.
I mean,
Makes
that's
complete
the main
sense.
reason.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's all I got.
Yeah, that's all. I'm good too.
So if you guys have any more questions, obviously you can hit all of us up at Twitter. We're FG Metrics. You got Jeff Fantasy Grind at for Twitter.
Fantasy
Jeff. Yep. So we'll be around on Twitter the next day or so, and if you have any more questions, definitely let us know.
Awesome. Have a good one, man. Talk to you.
Take it easy, guys.